I'm Westmancott, and I just want to take 2 minutes of your time today just to show you a few of the things that I think make the garments that I create just a little bit special. What I want to show you here is the inside of one of my jackets. Now, one of the things I pride myself on is the quality of my finishing. Now, hand finishing is essentially what we call any of the handwork stitchings that are on show, both on the inside of the garment or on the outside. And what you'll see here is on the inside where the lining is sewn in all the way down the front is actually sewn in lots of very tiny little handwork stitches. You can probably just make them out going here. And those work all the way around here, all the way around the inside of the pocket as well. Another thing you'll notice on my garments is I put the inside pockets into the fabric of the garment as well, not just into the lining. The reason I do this is it gives it strength, and what you'll also see is it looks quite good. And right in the very corners of the pockets, those with a keen eye will notice ever so slight little pucker of lining, both here and here. Now that is actually intentional. The way I sew my inside pockets is with one piece of lining, and they're done by hand. And when you do a pocket by hand, you actually leave that piece of lining right in the corner, which gives it extra strength. And that compares to, you'll notice the inside pockets of ready to wear, where you don't have this little pucker. And that's because they're done on a one-piece machine that puts the pocket in one hit. And those types of pockets aren't anywhere near as strong. As we move on, down to the bottom of the jacket. So this is the inside, the front of the jacket here, and the hem of the jacket here. Again, where the lining is attached to the cloth, you'll see all the way hidden under here, lots of very, very tiny little stitches all the way around. Now what I want to show you here, this is the pocket on the front of one of my jackets. And in particular, what I want to point out is these very slight little stitches that you'll see around the front edge of the pocket. Right there is where the pocket is at its weakest. It gets a lot of strain when you put things in it and pull things in it. And these little tiny stitches, which are known as hand detacking, give strength to that area and prevent it breaking out. And it's not something that all tailors, even top tailors on Savile Row, do. It's a time-consuming process, and it needs to be done very carefully to make it look good. Now, the piece I want to draw your attention to here is where the collar meets the lapel, and in particular this seam that runs along here. Now on ready to wear and most inferior suits, this seam is actually sewn by a machine, and the collar and the facings are put on almost as one. But on a handmade suit, the collar's put on after you've put the lapel on, and this seam here is actually sewn together from the outside by hand. Now if this is done badly or not carefully enough, what you notice is you get very small little puckers along this line. And it's only when it's done very carefully by hand that you get this nice crisp line, like you see here on one of my jackets. Now what I wanted to show you here, okay, so this is the back of the lapel, so the lapel on the front of the jacket there. What I want to show you is actually behind that. And as I move it around in the light, you'll catch what looks like lots of very tiny little dots covering this whole area. And what they are is all of the hundreds and thousands of tiny little handwork stitches which hold the canvas, the loose horsehair canvas, against to the cloth. Now each of those stitches is worked at the same time as curling that lapel, which gives it that graceful roll and keeps these points constantly pinned down towards the wearer's body. Okay, what we're looking at here is the lapel hole, and in true British Savile Row tailoring style, you'll notice my lapel hole is both long and also straight. It's not a keyhole buttonhole like we have on the front of the jackets or that you see on cheap ready to wear. But what I'd like to show you is behind the lapel is there's a little loop here called a flower loop, so that when you're wearing a flower in your lapel hole, the stem of it has somewhere just to tuck and keep it steady. Now unfortunately what doesn't show up here, because the quality of my video is not quite good enough, is unlike most tailors who just do a few stitches and a few stitches over the top of it to create a flower loop, I actually do a hand braided flower loop, which is beautiful and a little bit stronger. Takes quite a while to do and a little bit of skill, and I know it never gets seen, but it's one of those things that I just think it's worth it. One thing people often remark upon is how firm the collars are on a bespoke jacket. They actually have quite a stiff canvas that builds the structure of it, unlike ready to wear where mostly this is just fused or very lightweight. Okay, what we're looking at here is one of my out breast pockets. And in particular what I wanted to show you is how I do them by hand. And you'll see on either side of the pocket it's actually tacked on with lots of handwork stitches rather than on machine ready to wear where you get a little zigzag stitching or even worse, it's just done with a machine straight up the edges. Okay, so one of the last things I wanted to point out, now what we're looking at here is one of the vents on the jacket, so the slits that go towards the back of the jacket. And it was really just to show you at the top, one of the things that we do where the top of the vent ends, we put lots of little handwork stitches right through all the layers, and there's canvas that goes into this as well, which gives it extra body and strength, and those stitches just give what would be a weak part of the garment extra strength, something that's missing on virtually all ready to wear and even on a lot of tailored garments as well. Now sadly, unfortunately the quality of this video isn't quite good enough to show you this in detail, but as you'd expect with a garment of this calibre, all of the buttonholes are meticulously hand sewn with silk finishing thread. Just wanted to quickly show you the inside of one of my jackets. This is a part of the garment that you wouldn't normally get to see because it's covered by a bit of lining. And one of the important things about the tailoring that I do is this canvas that goes all the way through the front of the jacket is actually sewed in. It's put in by hand, and it's not glued or fused to the front of the garment like it is in most ready-to-wear, or even in a lot of bespoke garments that are made today. Now moving up into the chest area, you'll see all these white stitches. Now the chest area of one of my coats is built up of lots of layers of different types of canvas, and those layers of canvas are all shaped by hand and given the unique shape of a William Westmancott coat. And then all these stitches are put in to hold all those layers of canvas and stitch that shape permanently into the jacket. Now this black cloth that we see is a very, very soft cloth called Dumet, and it's there to give a nice soft feel to the inside of the jacket. And what it hides underneath and in between there is a layer of real horsehair canvas. As we look at this canvas, where my fingers are, you see each of these strands. Each one of them is actually an individual horse tail hair, and all of those are woven perfectly in line into this canvas. And the reason I use a pure horse tail hair canvas like this is those tail hairs give it a unique springiness. No matter how much it gets crushed or worn or beaten, it'll always spring back, and that gives a real amount of structure and lasting shape to a garment. It takes me roughly 10 workshop days to create a bespoke suit. Now it's not possible to show you the full workings and all of the craftsmanship and time that goes into making one, but I hope this video gives you just a brief overview of the care and the attention to detail that goes into making one of my bespoke suits.